Hello friends, I am Sanyukta and today we are going to be learning the official Zentangle pattern Bales. So Bales is a grid based pattern and we start with gratitude towards the art form and for the opportunity it gives us to create a beautiful piece of work, and for the smaller things in life that we always took for granted. So I have put the 4 dots and the border in place, and now I am going to be drawing a square grid, a simple square grid with my pen. So as you can see, I am drawing a simple square grid. I want the grid to be a part of my pattern, so I will also be inking this border because I want this border to be a part of my grid, right? So the pattern Bales is again a Zentangle original. Now I am going to be adding a series of these rice shapes, basically curves on both sides of the grid line, right? So in Zentangle terms, this shape is basically called a rice shape or a seed shape. So I am going to be adding this series of rice shapes. Semicircle or curves on both sides of the grid line. When I say original pattern, I mean patterns released by Zentangle headquarters and its founders Rick Roberts and Maria Thomas. There are a number of other patterns which have been released by various other CZTs, that is certified Zentangle teachers all over the world, patterns which fulfill the requirements of a tangle as mentioned in Zentangle. However, if you are a beginner, it is always recommended to learn or to start with these original patterns, because in these patterns lie the essence of the Zentangle method, right? So Bales is one of those original patterns. As you can see, I have rotated my tile and added the same seed shape to all the 4 sides of the squares grid, right? Since I needed these borders also to be a part of my grid, I inked it. This is basically the original pattern Bales. Now what I am going to do is create a tangulation. Since these spaces give me an opportunity to create a tangulation or a variation, I would like to take this opportunity to create a play around with the pattern Bales, adding a pattern that we have already learned in our previous sessions. So I am just going to add a printum in the center of this pattern Bales, right? A small printum. So I am adding another pattern to the original pattern Bales and hence creating a variation or a tangulation. You can also play with the original pattern, that is, instead of the seed shape, you can vary the shape. I will show you some variations. and that also amounts to a tangulation, that is altering the basic tangle, right? So as you can see, I've added these small printums, the center of the squares, and now I'm going to be adding some weighted lines surrounding my printum. So just like a star, drawing a line, adding some weight at the end of the line, drawing a line, adding some weight at the end of the line, right? Drawing a line just like a sun, drawing a line, adding some weight at the end of the line, line, weight at the end of the line, simple line, weight at the end of the line. Right, simple line, some weight at the end of the line, simple line, some weight at the end of the line. So that's one section. I'm going to be repeating this exercise in all the sections. Drawing a simple line, adding some weight at the end of the line. You can keep the lines absolutely straight, or I am adding a slight curve to the lines. As you can see here, it is totally entirely up to you. Right, so simple line, some weight at the end of the line, a simple line, some weight at the end of the line. So coming to the third, so as you can see here, I have already reached the second last section, and I am repeating the same exercise in all the sections, adding sun-like lines all around my printum and adding some weight at the end of the line, right? So Bales is one such pattern which gives you ample opportunities for creating tangulations and variations. So you can just play around with the pattern, and there are endless number of new patterns that you can create, right? So coming in the last one, again drawing a line, adding some weight at the end of the line, you can already see how the pattern is looking by combining it with one more pattern. I am constantly rotating my tile so that I don't have to move my hand much from its comfort position, right? So I have completed, and now we are going to shade our tangle. Now I am going to be adding some graphite on each of these intersection points, right? You can see it is already dark because of the tangulation that we have used, but I am going to be adding some more graphite at these points to highlight it, right? And the next thing is, either you can highlight the printum that is drawn in the center, right? That is, I add some graphite here around the printum. Alternatively, you can add some graphite at the corners or the border and then blend it in. So I feel like highlighting my printum, so I am going to be adding some graphite around my printum, right? So there is no standard way of shading. You can shade the way you want. As far as simple bales is concerned, you generally shade by adding some graphite at the intersections, right? But there are again number of ways, different ways that you can shade. So I am just adding some graphite around my printum. Just make sure that you do not add too much of it. You don't want to make the entire section grey, right? So it's important that white and grey areas are discrete. So that's about it. Now we are going to, with a very light hand first, smudge the graphite that we have put at these intersection points. Shading adds a lot of dimension, contrast and depth to your tile. It is a very important part of the Zentangle method, but again, there are no standard rules of shading in Zentangle. Just explore and find out for yourself what looks good, right? And then we are going to, with a very light hand, smudge this, making sure that we don't cover up the entire white space, right? So with a very light hand, I am just going to smudge the graphite that I have put around my printums. So I was talking about the Zentangle original patterns. Most of these patterns you will see when you draw have a lot of emphasis on oraying and drawing each stroke, and that's where the essence of Zentangle comes from, right? The true meditation is in drawing each stroke deliberately, and the patterns have been designed in such a manner. So I am almost done with it. Yeah. So that's the pattern bales. Now what I was telling you is, I have used a square grid in my tile. Alternatively, you can draw bales. You can just draw a spiral, divide the spiral into sections, and then draw bales around these sections, right? So basically one section of the pattern bales looks like this, right? Now you can use this section the way you want. So I can also draw a grid like this any way I want, and then again draw bales, or I can use bales as a border tangle, right? Divide this into sections where each sections looks like this. So you can use any kind of a grid. Again, if you want to vary the basic tangle, instead of the rice shape, you may choose to draw this shape also, right? So I can draw this shape, or you can draw any other shape you want. I can draw something like this. I can draw something like this, right? Right. So there are n number of variations that you can create. So this is basically wearing the rice shape. I've altered the basic pattern. So you can do it like this. And then fill the inside with the way you want. So I'm now going to initial my tile. Take a moment to appreciate your tile. Sign and date it. So we'll meet again with another new Zentangle original pattern. Till then, see you. Goodbye.